Hello, I'm so excited to meet you. Welcome to my three-part series on how to boost your fertility by 69% with 5 simple dietary changes. So this is part 1, and if you are like most of my mama-to-bees, your dream is to hold your happy and healthy baby in your arms and experience the love and completeness that comes from having that little one look up into your eyes and smile, knowing that you've made her, that she's a part of you, and that you've given her the very best version of you possible. So to achieve that, we really want to be able to experience the confidence that comes from following a nourishing fertility eating plan, particularly when you're feeling a bit overwhelmed. So whether that means that you're undergoing IVF or ovulation induction medications, or whether you're just starting to try to conceive, it can be a bit overwhelming, can't it? So we want to really help you feel confident that you're eating the right foods. And we want to know that what you're eating will not only help you to conceive faster, but will also help to prepare your body to give your baby a head start. So if that sounds like you, you're in the right place. You see, I find that every doctor and every article that you read, everyone that you talk to tells you that you need to be eating a nutritious fertility diet, don't they? But the thing is they don't actually explain exactly A, what that looks like, and then B, how to actually put it into action. And so that's where I'm here to help, because I know that that can really lead to confusion and therefore to inaction. So in today's session, what you're going to discover, so we're going to have a look, first of all, like I said in this 3-part series, which one of the 4 fertility eating types you currently adhere to. And then in the second section, we're going to look at the 5 simple dietary changes that will boost your fertility. And let me tell you, the 5th one will really surprise you. And then in the last part of our 3-part series, we're going to be looking at the 1 action that you need to take in the next 24 hours to supercharge your fertility. Now, for those who don't know me, my name is Melanie McGrice, and I'm a fertility and prenatal dietitian. I do a few different roles. I work at St Vincent's Hospital in Melbourne, which is a major Melbourne teaching hospital in Melbourne, Australia. I'm also an adjunct academic at Swinburne University, and I am the founder of the Nutrition Plus women's health clinics. So we have dietitians working all over Australia, and I train and teach those dietitians. And I tend to spend most of my time either training other dietitians and other healthcare professionals about fertility and prenatal nutrition, or helping mums or mums-to-be. So with this information, I'm going to turn off my video now so that you guys can get focused on the screen. And we're just going to then give a couple of announcements before we get started. So the first one is that I just want to make sure that you've got a pen and paper handy, because you're going to learn some really important information in these seminars. So if you don't have one, just press pause and go and grab one and come back again, because these seminars are a bit different. It's not just about giving you the information, but I want to really give you some clarity, give you some ahas on how to actually transform the way that you eat to optimize your fertility and nutrition. So we're going to really get into some nitty-gritty over these seminars. Number 2, if you are like most of the mamas-to-be that I know, you're trying to multitask and do a million things at once. But when you do that, you don't really focus, do you? So I really want you to pop your phone away, or at least put it on silent, close the door, and really give yourself this time to discover how to optimize your fertility. Oh, and it's come up in the wrong order, but anyway, that's okay. So we'll do this one first. We'll jump down to number 4, just to let you know that in part 3, I actually have a very special surprise gift for you. So I can't wait to give that to you. So that'll be coming up soon. And the other thing was just to let you know that if you do have any questions throughout the 3-part series, please feel free to email me or message me with your questions. I'm here to help. All right, now I did tell you that you'll need pen and paper. Excuse me. So here comes your first question. I want to ask you, what is the biggest obstacle that you're facing when it comes to eating a nutritious fertility diet? So, and I want you to actually write this down, because I want you to get those clarities and those ahas. So write it down for me. See if you can think about what it is. All right, so while you're jotting that down, I want to ask you, what's the weather like where you are at the moment? Strange question, maybe. Well, the reason I ask is, so I live and work in Melbourne in Australia, and most people think that Australia is just beaches and the sunburnt country. But where I am in Melbourne, we actually are known for having 4 seasons often in one day, but definitely having the 4 seasons. So I remember I was in my office one day, and it was a cold, rainy evening. And I was just waiting for my last client of the day to come in. And I particularly remember that it was cold and rainy, because when this client came in, she came bursting in like a ray of sunshine. And you know, when you can just feel the difference, it's so like somebody's got so much energy that it's just tangible. And it just really stuck in my mind, because her energy was so different than the drizzly rain outside. And she came in and she threw her arms around me and gave me a big hug. And she said, "Melanie, I'm finally pregnant." Now, this client had been through 6 rounds of IVF already, and she was just absolutely at her wit's end. She was just so frustrated and disheartened by it all, and then she'd come to see me. Now, she was a client who had a condition called polycystic ovarian syndrome, and she'd tried gazillions of different diets and things that she'd read on the internet. She'd done a low-carb diet for a while, and she'd done dairy-free diet for a bit, and she'd done a vegan diet, and really was chopping around all over the place. And so we actually had a close look at what was going on for her and her unique situation. And the reason why part of the reason anyway, that she'd never come to speak to a dietitian earlier was that she was a healthy weight. And so even though a lot of women with polycystic ovarian syndrome struggle with their weight, she hadn't struggled. So her weight was, well, according to the doctor, she hadn't struggled anyway. So her weight, as you can see here, was around about 65 kilos, which was quite a healthy weight for her height. You can see down here her BMI, or body mass index, was 25, which was really within the recommended range for her. But you'll also see that when we actually did her body composition analysis, she had what we call a C shape. So you can see this C shape here. So her muscle mass was actually quite low compared to her levels of body fat. And so if you come down here, this is her percentage of body fat. And I know it's a bit hard to read, but this is a bit old now. And so her percentage of body fat was about 38%. Whereas really we want it to be under 28% for this particular lady, for her height and weight and so forth. And so when I did her nutrition assessment and I had a look at the way that she was eating and so forth, and I could see that these low levels of muscle mass and this high percentage of body fat, and her different fat, it was all caused by her different fad diets over the years. And then this was really having a big impact upon her ability to conceive. And so once we put together a plan, an individually tailored, personalised plan, and I gave her the support to actually help her to put that plan into practice, she totally transformed the way she was eating. She became really clear on what she needed to eat, and we helped her overcome some of the different struggles that were in the way, like the confusion and like the lack of time and the influence of her friends on her eating habits. And like I said, she became pregnant, and she ended up having a gorgeous little healthy boy. So this particular client was a really important client to me, because although I'd been working as a dietitian for years and years and years, this client really impacted me. The ability to be able to help her to be able to have a baby after she had tried for so many years without success just really touched my heart. And I really feel like it's my calling to be able to go and help other women to be able to get pregnant too, because I've personally had my own fertility battles, and you know, it's just something that is really on my heart, and I love to help mamas or mamas to be become pregnant. So what I'd like to show you today is what I call the fertility fast track framework. And what I've really found over the years is that there's two key things that we need for a healthy fertility diet. The first thing is obviously we need really great, strong fertility nutrition knowledge. But the second thing we need, and I think a lot of people miss this, but it makes such a big difference, is that we need to know how to overcome the obstacles that get in the way. So what happens is that people who have strong fertility nutrition knowledge, but they're not very good at overcoming life obstacles, those obstacles that get in the way of us eating well, they tend to be our yo-yo eaters. So yo-yo eaters are people who know what to eat, and they do it for a period of time, but then they fall off the bandwagon. So for example, maybe they are going out to a function with friends, and so they were eating well, but they catch up with their girlfriends and that gets in the way, and then they fall off the horse there. Or maybe it's a lack of time for them, that again, maybe they're eating well, but then they are going to a conference or they get busy at work or whatever it might be, and so then they fall off the band. That causes them to fall off the bandwagon. Or maybe they again are eating well for a period of time, but then they get their period again and they're so disheartened that they just go, oh, well, what's the point? And they self-sabotage and start binging on maybe a whole lot of chocolate or something along those lines. So I want to ask you, do you relate to being a yo-yo eater? Do any of those scenarios sound familiar to you? So that's our yo-yo eater. Now, what about someone who doesn't have those problems, like is quite strong and confident if they knew what to eat, but they're actually really confused about what to eat? They have low or poor fertility nutrition knowledge. Well, they're our confused eaters. So the confused eater, maybe they're someone who has looked up on the internet about which oils they should be eating and has come across a whole lot of different answers, and so is really confused. Or maybe they look to see whether or not they should be drinking dairy, whether they should be including that in their diet or whether they should be cutting it out, and they chop and change there, like the client that I was telling you about before. Or maybe it's fruit. Maybe they're confused about whether fruit having natural sugars in it, whether they should be cutting that out or whether they should be eating it. There's so many questions, and so that's our confused eater. So I want to ask you again, do you relate to a confused eater at all? Do any of those scenarios ring true for you? So that's our yo-yo eater and our confused eater. And then we've got people who are both, they're both poor in overcoming obstacles, and they have that poor fertility nutrition knowledge. And so we call them our fast food eaters. So our fast food eaters are the people who, look, they're so busy and influenced by their friends, and they don't know what to eat. They're confused about what to eat, so it's just all too hard. So they just grab whatever everybody else is eating, whatever's quick, whatever's easy, whatever's available. They tend to be our fast food eaters. So at this point, I really want to ask you, which type of eater are you? And again, I want you to write it down for me, because when you can identify which of these three types of eaters that you are, then you'll become a lot more clear on the strategy of what you need to do to be able to change your eating habits and to be able to eat really well to optimize your fertility. So write that down for me. I'll give you a second to do that. Okay, so obviously what we want to be is we want to be a nutritious eater. So we want to have really strong fertility nutrition knowledge, and we want to be strong at overcoming all of those obstacles that get in the way. We want to be somebody who knows what to eat and is really nourishing our body to be able to give ourselves the best possible chance of getting pregnant, and when we do get pregnant, of making sure that we've given our baby the best possible nutrition possible, because what that does, that actually goes on to influence your baby's genetics and to help to give your baby a head start in life. So how do we do this? How do we become a nutritious eater? Well, first of all, we need to move from either being a yo-yo eater to a nutritious eater, or from being a confused eater to a nutritious eater. So we need to be able to make those two changes. So now that you know what type of eater you are, we're going to look at how to become that nutritious eater. So in our next session, what you're going to learn is the most important nutrient for fertility and the reason why most women aren't getting enough. We're going to talk about the food that makes you 92% more likely to have fertility problems and what you should eat instead. We're going to discuss the simple food swap that few people are doing, which can actually boost your fertility by 50%. We're going to discuss the dietary change that you should only make if you're not planning to conceive for at least 6 weeks. And we're going to talk about the unlikely food that made women 3 times more likely to conceive. So I can't wait. I'm so excited to be able to explain all of this to you. Don't forget your pen and paper, because you're going to need it. You're going to be wanting to write down some more notes and to have some more clarity as we walk through this journey together. So I can't wait to see you very, very soon.